Hello, everybody. We are back. It is Wednesday, and as I say every week, it's a wonderful Wednesday for me. And I'm really hoping that it's a wonderful Wednesday for you in the middle of the week. And guess what? You have tuned in to the Power of Transformation broadcast. And I'm your host. I'm Dr. Paula Obie, and we're back again with another very exciting discussion. As I say every week, the show is based on Romans 12 and 2. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And we're here to help you understand how to transform your life. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, it's amazing. All right. So every week I tell you to do the same thing. And every week I do it as well. We're going to give you time to text your friends. We're going to give you time to call them. We're going to give you time to tag them. While we are allowing you to do that, we're going to take a little break and we're going to be right back. And I promise I'm going to be doing the same thing. So we will see you very soon.
Pond 5. Pond 5.
Hello, we're back. And I'm going to tell you every week we bring you a very special guest. And tonight we have another amazing person who, of course, is near and dear to my heart. She is such an amazing young lady. And I'm going to start off by saying this is Audrey's daughter. We'll get back to that in a second. But this is Kaya Ward Shears, and she's the founder of the Journey Collection. She's the daughter of one of my all-time favorite family members who's been an inspiration, or was an inspiration, and still is for a very long time. And Kaya is just a chip off the block. So I'm going to tell you, unbuckle that seatbelt because she's got a lot to say. And we're just going to have a wonderful discussion as we talk to Kaya Ward Shears tonight. I'm telling you, I'm excited. I'm excited. Kaya, there you are.
Hello there. Hi.
Hello. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this day. When we first started talking about having the show, I sent you a text. I'm like, she's one I have to have. And I just have to have the stories in your life and all that you do. Such an inspiration to us all, particularly me. Particularly me. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
The things that you're doing. I'm going to let you talk about what you're doing. I don't know when you sleep.
Very carefully. Okay. I sleep very early and I wake up very early.
Yes, because every time I see you, you have such wonderful things going on. So I want to talk about whatever you want.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the Journey Collective. But can we take just a few minutes to talk about Audrey?
Yes.
Just a second. She's my inspiration. I'm Dr. Obie because of your mom.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I did not bring my Kleenex.
Oh,
but if I need them, I'll go get them.
That's it.
But she's my inspiration. And I've always admired her life. And we've had such great conversations that I still replay. Yeah. So I'm very proud of you because I know that what she poured into you, you are pouring into others. So I'm just proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, she was, and I think continues to be, such a force. Like her basis on so many things was women's empowerment. And even growing up, my whole life since I was 3, she worked at Bennett College for women, and she would get offers to work at much bigger schools and all these things. And I would ask, like, Mom, would you ever think about working somewhere else, or doing, teaching what you teach, or leading what you lead somewhere else? And she said, God has called me to empower women. God has called me to Bennett. And so just for her to be the kind of woman who always was adamant and intentional about walking in her calling, but also who was so intentional about women's empowerment. I love that her legacy gets to live on between my siblings and what we do now.
It's amazing. That is so amazing. She planted the seed
Yeah.
in you and your siblings. And now you get to carry on the vision. Isn't that amazing?
It really is. It is very empowering for me for sure.
We could spend the rest of this evening just talking about her and your dad, and just so many wonderful stories and such great memories of
Mhm.
how she stepped into others' lives
Yes.
and really empowered them and gave them the courage to do whatever God called them to do. And
Right.
you are one of the ones that she poured into,
Yes, for
and
sure.
you're doing what God called you to do. So I'm so proud of you. If I had an applause track, I would, just say to God be the glory, start clapping. Because I love the fact that she allowed herself to be empowered with
Mhm.
God's purpose and then fed that to you and your siblings. And look
Abs-
at us.
Yeah,
We have a mandate.
absolutely.
We have a mandate, and it's in our blood. So let's talk a little bit more about you and
Okay.
the Journey Collective, because it does tie into what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
What was the impetus for this?
Yeah. So in 2016, I lost mom and dad just 4 months apart. Both were completely unexpected. I was living in Atlanta at the time. I was in seminary, traveling, preaching, doing the thing. Like life was grand. And then mom was out of breath. And so I took her to the hospital, and out of breath turned into, you have 10 months to live. And she didn't even make it 24 hours. It was super duper traumatic. And then 4 months later, dad died of kidney failure. And well, the death certificate says kidney failure, but truly, I say he died of a broken heart. Um,
Yes.
it was a lot to navigate. I was 29 at the time, and it was heavy, just back to back trauma. I've heard someone say, I saw it read, that grief is like having a head on collision. And if that were the case, I had two head on collisions back to back. And I struggled. I struggled. I'm like, God, I thought I was doing everything right. Like I'm serving in the local church. I'm
Yes.
in seminary. Like I'm trying to do what you've called me to do. Like, how is this happening? Like I'm fasting, I'm praying, and the weight of it was just so heavy and so debilitating even.
Mm-hmm,
And
hmm.
my best friend and I, it was going to be my first Christmas without my parents, and dad was buried literally the week before Christmas. So I wasn't really in the Christmas spirit. I didn't want to. I think the words I used was, I don't want to be at the dinner table seeing two empty seats. And so my best friend, who happens to be Jewish, she says, you know what? On Christmas Day, I'm not going to be celebrating traditionally. I don't traditionally celebrate Christmas. She was like, so let's go out of town. So being the good friend she was, we went to Florida, and we were in Miami, and there was this gorgeous rooftop of our hotel. And I was on the rooftop, this gorgeous furniture, just looking out over all the lights. And literally in that moment, I was up there by
Hmm.
myself, and I just looked out, I'd say into the abyss, but I just looked out and I said, God, I am so angry with you.
Mm.
And as a minister of the gospel, a woman of the cloth, it was a hard thing to reconcile that I was angry at God. I felt too Christian to tell God that I was angry with him. I
Mm.
felt like I was supposed to ascribe to well, God knows best, and he has a better plan, and all of that is correct, but God also gives us permission to be human, and he gives us permission to be upset and angry and hurt and all the things. And tears just flooded from my eyes as I told God how mad I was at him. And so with this in mind, after that, I went to sleep, and it was literally the next day. I woke up and God was like, grab your planner. That was weird for me because, and you've been
Ooh.
the grief of a parent. And so that the challenge it can be, one of the ways grief hit me was I couldn't think of the next day.
Right.
Thinking of the next day was a day without my parents. And so it was debilitating, it was exhausting, it was frustrating.
Hmm.
And and so I couldn't, but I was one of those people, I love planner. I mean, I love a good color coded planner. So it was empty at the time because I wasn't trying to think ahead, but I still carried it with me in my
Hmm.
luggage for whatever reason. And God said, grab your planner. And I just grabbed it. I was like, what do you want me to do? Just sit in bed with it? And I grabbed my planner, and all of a sudden, this mind, which for the 4 months of between my parents passing, I couldn't even think of the next day. All of a sudden, God was dropping vision on me for the month ahead, the months ahead, the quarter ahead, the year ahead. All of a sudden, I went from a space of thinking that my life was completely over and I had nothing to give or live for, to all
Mm,
of a sudden seeing this shimmer of light. Like maybe I do.
mm,
So with this in mind, within a year of that, I found myself writing a blog, and yes, I enjoy writing, but I'm a very private person, so was mom, very private. And so as God was nudging me to do a blog, I'm like, God, no, no one's going to relate to this. There's no 29-year-old who's losing both parents. What? Only to write the blog and start getting emails and messages from people literally around the country saying, Kaya, I just went through a divorce. I relate to your blog. What? I'm not divorced. I've never been married.
right.
Then
Right.
getting people saying, Kaya, I lost my child. I'm like, what? I've never, like, what are they reading? And then that's when God downloaded on me. He was like, all of us, everyone has experienced loss. Your loss might be unique to you, but loss as a whole, everyone can relate to it. So I'm thinking that I'm like in this silo with my siblings and I. The truth is, people across the country related to it. And the blog became a book. And then soon after the book, God dropped on me this vision for the Journey Collective.
Your journey.
Yes. And it literally came from in my time of grief, I gained 50 pounds of emotional weight, emotional eaters awareness right here. It's a thing. Okay. I had eaten myself before I knew it to 50 pounds overweight. And during the pandemic, I had my sweet boy, my first baby. And so then I had about 20 pounds to get off there. Like it was a lot of extra weight that I had put on. And so I just put it on like my social media. Like anybody want to go on a 21-day journey? And I'm thinking we're going to lose weight. Like that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose weight. And if some people want to lose weight, I'm thinking we'll just get in a little group and share ourselves working out. That's what I thought it was going to be. And so it started off with 21 people or 23 people, excuse me. And now 3 years later, we have over 700. And it's not just weight loss. God opened it up whereby we focus on the physical wellness, yes, of weight loss or weight sustaining or people who want to get off their medications, people who just want to live healthier lifestyles, healthy recipes. But we also open it up to financial wellness. So there's a financial wellness coach and emotional wellness. We have an emotional wellness coach and then spiritual wellness. I also lead the spiritual wellness component of it. And women from around the country literally come online and we are empowered through this group coaching movement. I thought it was just going to be online. I'm like, oh God, this is great. Thank you for this online movement. Then God said, Kai, I need you to do retreats. So I just got back from the Outer Banks at the end of last week because we had a retreat at a gorgeous, gorgeous mansion, oceanfront in the Outer Banks. And then this coming weekend, we have a 5K actually in honor of mom, where we raise money for breast cancer awareness. So it doesn't only go towards our programming, but we've connected with Levine Cancer Institute in Concord, North Carolina, and
Mhm.
501c3 called Sisters in Partnership. They support breast cancer fighters and survivors. And so we're able to give a portion of proceeds back to them. And we have a gala and a garden party. And all while I am having the time of my life, we are raising awareness about these different facets of wellness.
Yes. Yeah. You went to a place that I absolutely love, and that's the place of surrender.
Mm-hmm.
When you had your conversation with God, you were in a place of surrender.
Yeah.
You were very honest. And you know how he talks about the truth and how it sets us free. And in your honesty, he said, now you're ready for me to give you the next step in your life.
Yeah.
Look at what you have said to me in
Yeah.
just a few minutes
Yeah.
about how he's just continuously opening up this flower opportunity. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I've not gotten to the garden party yet, but I'm on my way.
You coming though. You gonna come. You
I'm
gonna
going to be there.
come. Yeah.
I promise I'm going to come. But let me tell you, what a powerful and a beautiful story. But I want you to do something for me. I want you to go back and look at the pictures
Mm,
of the folks that attend the retreats. I
yeah.
stare at those pictures
Yeah.
because those folks are the face of transformation.
Yeah.
When I look at them, I go, "You missed it again."
Wow.
Look at what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you are even aware
It's
as to how God is using you in this time.
it's amazing. It had to be about a year ago. God is blessing with opportunities to minister, right? And one day I was about to minister to a beautiful congregation. And right before I went up, the praise team was just singing, and they were so high in worship. I mean, it was breathtaking. And for a moment, I remember saying, God, if you had given me the gift of singing, and before I could even smile or like, and I said all this to myself, this is how Jesus and I talk. Before I could
Yeah.
even smile or be like, just kidding, Jesus, I'm happy to minister the gospel in the way I do. All I said was, Lord, if I had had the gift to sing, could tell me nothing. And just as I had that thought, God said, oh no, I said, if I had the gift to sing or played an instrument, those are my words.
Right.
And before I could even complete the thought, God said, you are my instrument.
Wow.
And something about that moment and audibly hearing God, imagine trying to go preach after that, right? But in that moment, I remember even after the sermon, coming back to that thought and idea of, I'm an instrument.
You're an
I'm
instrument.
an instrument. And that happened about a year, 2 years ago, and I've never been able to release it. So, literally, whether I'm ministering traditionally from a pulpit, whether I'm ministering through the journey or through, I'm a first lady. So, whether I'm ministering to a group there, in all of it, my prayer, my internal prayer is always, Lord, use me as an instrument. I want you to play me. And I think about those people. And Paula, you have a very musical immediate family too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it stopped at me. Like, changing the bloodline and stop. But you have a very musical family. And so, when someone plays an instrument and they play that thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I desire God to do with me. I just want to be the instrument that plays and makes a sound. And one thing God showed me is I'm going to play you and you're going to make a sound. And the souls that are supposed to hear that sound will hear it. Don't
Yes.
worry about those who don't. But
Yes.
the people who are supposed to hear you, they're going to hear you. And literally for every retreat, every garden party, 5K, gala, conference, you name it, they hear it.
They hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it on their faces. We've been talking back and forth in a lot of circles about people loving God and people in the church.
Yes.
What you're doing is helping people understand the relationship with God that they need.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
need a relationship. So he's using you as that instrument
Yeah.
to build those relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
If he can bring you out of that situation and do this, it was the relationship with him that mattered.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
relationship that's moving you. You are an amazing instrument.
Thank you.
Use his hands. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you.
Thank you. And it really, one of the awesome things to be in a posture and position to be able to empower women, one of the cool things about it is I feel like it helps mom's legacy live on. Medical mistrust, as we know, is a huge deal, I think, across many communities, especially in the Black community. And even though mom's death certificate says she died of breast cancer, it was really medical mistrust. I remember her telling me, she said, Kaya, I don't want to be anybody's guinea pig. And that's a hard thing to hear from the woman who you believe can conquer all things and can conquer anything. And so I went through a phase of my grief where I was just angry. That's on the cycle, right? I was angry, like, why didn't mom fight more? Why didn't, and I was really, really angry. And it's through the journey and through being able to empower women and seeing the women who are empowered and touched that I realized mom really didn't die in vain. It wasn't just this aloof, random, death, but through every person who has helped, through every woman who gets a mammogram because of our physical wellness initiatives, for every woman who's getting out of debt because of the financial side or growing closer to Christ because of the spiritual, like all the women who are being impacted by the tears of the journey, each one of those literally makes one of my literal tears have impact. Like I'm able to see it was never in vain. It was never on a whim, but her death was very intentional because without it, I may not have started it or may not be doing it in this way. So it definitely brings great intention to my grief.
I'm just reflecting on that time. And yes, a lot of folks sit back and have their reasons for why they make a decision from a medical perspective for God to give you this opportunity to be the voice now.
Yeah.
A voice is not hushed.
No, not at all.
A voice is still speaking. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And I'm loving that. You said earlier about me losing a parent. I lost a parent as well many years ago.
Mhm.
And each time I hear you speak and I hear you talk, and I read your blog, whew, I read the blog. And I thought to myself, only a God can give you a powerful voice
Yeah.
and the strength to say these words and what, just position you in your purpose after that type of scenario
Yes.
to help other people.
Yeah.
He's using every bit of you.
He can use me up. I
He's,
heard a preacher say, and I think it's very much how mom died, but it's how I desire to a million years from now when it's time for me to go up in the rapture, right? I
yeah,
literally heard a preacher say, I just want to die empty. Like, I don't want to die with anything left, Paula. Like, I don't want to die saying, well, I was going to do this, but I was mad at him. Or I was going to do this, but I just didn't feel like I would. No, I want God to use me up. Like, I want God, when he looks down on earth of who he can use, I want him to start with me. I
yes,
desire to stay in a posture. God, I can't speak on the obedience of nobody else, but you can count on little old Kaya. If there's something little old me can do, I'll do it. Like, start right here with me.
yes, yes. You know what, Kaya? You're encouraging someone now who's probably going through a really time and trying to figure things out and wondering, what are my next steps and how I'm going to get there. After hearing your story,
Mhm.
and I'm sure they're going to be connecting with you because we're going to definitely give the information.
Mhm.
I'm sure that there's going to be at least one person who will sit up and say, if Kaya can do it at 29,
Come on.
I
Yeah,
can.
that's it.
Yeah, I can do it. And you may be the reason even now while you're talking, you may be the reason for them sitting up a little bit,
Right.
paying attention to someone else's journey
Right.
and how that journey has turned into a powerful ministry
Right.
that helps women transform
Mhm.
into the person that God created them to be.
That's right.
The Bible says that, we're going to suffer in this world, many of the afflictions of the righteous, but
Right.
that the Lord will deliver us out of them all. And
Yes.
to see you smile and to see those parties and, oh
Yes.
my God, you guys having such a great time.
Yes.
Oh, who wouldn't want to be a part of that transformation?
Right. That's
Because
it.
who would not? And for so long, and we've had a lot of broadcasts for several years ago when my mom passed, we didn't have a lot of awarenesses and conversations about grief and about
Right.
medical conversation. We didn't have that.
Right.
But since that time, I am so thankful for where we are. We can get the word out now.
Yeah. We really can.
Hmm.
I
We
totally.
can be that voice.
Yes, absolutely. That voice of transformation. And I
Yeah.
think there's so many people who forget the enemy seeks to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what the word of God says. And in doing that, so often I believe the enemy tries to suffocate our voice. He
Yeah.
tries to make it feel like, no, 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 your story isn't good enough. Or no, 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 you went through that. It makes you less Christian. And that is
Yes.
not so. The less Christian, quote unquote, parts are actually what attracts people to our story. And I think there's so many women out there who have stories and have books to write and have messages to share, right? And they're scared because they're worried about what people will say about them, what people think about them. But I believe in this season, God is calling for unapologetic daughters, for daughters to walk in their boldness and their authenticity and their God given authority, just like you're doing through this broadcast, Paula, like creating opportunities for people to share their stories and share their passion and share their transformation so that other people can see and say, hey, that's me. Hey, that sounds like me. So kudos to you and the way God is using you in this transformative ministry. I mean, it's really incredible.
God is good. One of the things that I know is I have no idea how I got here.
Yeah.
I say that all the time, but obedience is really important. And when He opens up the door, you have to have the courage to walk in through
Yeah.
the door. And I'm grateful because when my mom passed, I lost my voice.
Mm,
I didn't have
wow.
I didn't
Wow.
have the energy to have a voice. I didn't have. So there was, so to be in this place
Yeah.
tells me that God was going, just stay steadfast, Paula. I have something I want you to do. And
Exactly.
when we say yes, God then opens up the opportunity. He opens up the door, just like you.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful because He wants us to be that instrument
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely. 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 And so often we say it, kind of as a soundbite, like, Lord, use me. But it's
yeah.
like, do you really want me to use you? I tell people all the time, and at the top of 2016, if God had said, hey, um, you are going to lose your mom in August, you're going to lose your dad in December, but you're going to be all right. I'd be like, no, give this to somebody else, right?
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
yes.
So when we
Yeah.
talk about being used by God, um, the truth of the matter is it does open the door to say, God, if you got to make me uncomfortable to be used, make me uncomfortable. If you got to separate some things, separate them. Like that is the uncomfortable part, but that's also the part of, like you said, is obedience. I just got finished in the month of September. I taught a Bible study called Yes. And it was just exploring different people in the Bible who said yes to God. And guess what? Not a single one of them was in a comfortable place when they said yes. And I think the thing is, so often we think that saying yes to God is a space in which, oh, everything is perfect and everything is lining up and all your friends and family are supporting you. No. Typically we say yes to God, like marriage is on the rocks, people treating you mean, and it's just like, God, what? But the truth of the matter is he desires our yes. And I believe that for some, maybe, that season of transformation, they're on the cusp of it. And they're saying, God, why not? When does it happen? When is it coming? When is my transformation? When is my elevation? And God's saying, it's on the other side of your yes.
Yes. I'm trying to imagine for a second what it must have been like in August of that year for you.
Yeah.
I know what it was like for me.
Yeah.
And then in December, I'm standing on the sidelines watching.
Yeah.
And then fast forwarding to today, God is real, Kaya.
Man.
He's real and he loves us.
Yeah.
And he truly has a Jeremiah 29:11 plan for you.
Yeah.
And at that time is the time that some folks are going through right now.
Yes.
In this very moment,
Mm-hmm.
at this very moment,
Yeah.
they're going through it. What are you going to say to them? What are you saying to them tonight?
I would say that God hears your tears. God hears your tears. Um, Between the 4 months that one of the things I shared at the top of this interview, I shared that, I went that season, it was so hard. And then, I prayed in Miami. What I did not mention was between August and December, because I was a mama's baby, y'all. What? I mean, I was a pure blood, like I love my daddy, but I was a mama's baby through and through. Mom and I had just traveled for 2 weeks together, literally leading up to her death. I watched her take her last breath. My sister was in the room as well and watched her take her last breath also. And one of the things that I failed to mention, but that is pertinent, is that I literally could not audibly pray for 4 months.
Right.
Um, if I got on my knees, I would just cry. I mean, when I would go to church and I literally couldn't close my eyes during the time of prayer because I would just cry. And it didn't make sense to me. And I went that time and I would say, oh my gosh, I couldn't pray for 4 months. And then God corrected me. He said, you were praying because I heard your tears. So for that person, I would just remind you that it's a God who we serve, a God who does hear your tears and who hears your moans. And in those spaces, if all you can do is get on your knees, you don't have a liturgy, you don't have a fancy prayer, you don't have anything to offer but your tears or your presence, that's enough. Who told you it had to be more than that? Who told you that God was expecting, the holier than thou, right? No. God said, but you still come to me, right? Come to me and I'll give you rest. He didn't say come to me and have it all together. He said, come to me and I'll give you rest. And so for that person who, whether because of the grief from death, the grief from divorce, a lost job, or just transition that's left you in grief, for that person, I would remind them, God sees you and he hears you and he hears every one of your tears.
He hears every one of your tears. Now that sounds like a book to me, but he hears every one of your tears. What an amazing concept.
Yeah.
To know that even if I can't say a word and I'm crying, he's listening to the communication through my tears. Kaya,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Let me tell you though,
That's
the way when one of the
mm,
ways God spoke it was literally through the story of Hagar. Remember when she and Ishmael they'd gotten kicked out of the house, right? She found herself a single mom. homeless,
Yeah.
helpless, thought she and the baby were going to die. And the Bible says that she put Ishmael under a broom bush and she walked away crying. And she said, I can't watch this boy die. And
Yeah.
as she was crying, the next verse literally says, and God heard Ishmael.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was crying, but then because God heard her, he then saw the boy. And so with that in mind, that's for anyone in a space of giving up, anybody in a space of tribulation and trauma and trials. It's the most beautiful reminder that God literally, your tears opens God's eyes to those even connected to you, for those who you're even standing in the gap for. Because maybe it's not you who wants to give up, but
Right.
maybe it's a loved one that you're ready to give up on.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
That was powerful. I'm going to definitely go back to this and listen to that again,
Yeah.
because there are folks who feel like there's a right and a wrong way to go through difficult situations.
Mhm.
You have just told them, just cry. You're his creator. He's your creator,
That's
and
right.
he'll be your tears.
Absolutely.
Standing in the gap for someone else. I think that's important. And
Mm.
you're also an example of, once he's listened to your tears, he's going to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to download into you something that is so amazing. You're not going to stop crying overnight, but he's going to download a plan for your life and download that purpose.
That's right.
You opened up you opened up your journal, you opened up your calendar, and he started giving you the vision.
Yes.
So we're going to encourage people now through their tears, take a moment to listen to what he has to say
Yeah,
and remove your fear.
that's right.
How did you learn to trust him at that level?
Yeah. So what I had to realize was my whole life, I knew the God who gave. He gave me my parents, gave me a job, gave me, good education, gave. And in that season, I met the God who took away.
Mm,
But here it is. He was still God. And what I realized was God trusted me enough to show me different sides of him. And if he could trust me enough to show me that, surely I could reciprocate the trust right back to him.
right.
Also, being in that season where I'd lost them so close, and I know what it's like to lose my joy and my peace and everything in that.
Hmm.
The truth of the matter is, I had what other choice did I have? Mom used to have a saying growing up. One of the ways she taught us gratitude was she would say, it's not a death. So, you lose your game and you come home and you're sad. Kai, don't be sad about that. It's not a death. Or, disappointed in a great Kaya, it's not a death. Everything was, it's not a death. It's not a death. And then there I was at 29 watching her be lowered in the ground, and it was a death,
Right.
that it was heavy and it was hard. And it was, in my world, the worst case scenario. I'll never forget the hours before she died, before she had gone into the comatose state. Literally, I was crying and I said, Mom, at that moment, the doctor said, this was literally within hours of her getting to the hospital. They said, you might have 10 months to live. And I was bawling at 10 months, not realizing it wouldn't even be 10 hours. But I
Right.
was crying and bawling. And my mom looked over at me and she said, Kaya, she said, you're stronger than you think. And in that moment, I didn't feel strong. And then even now, you get me on the right Tuesday or Friday, right? I still don't know if I'm good. But one of the things that I learned and I gleaned from her was she knew she had already taught me who God was. She already taught me how to trust in God, right? I knew how to lean into him. It was up to me if I was going to in that season, but she had already taught me those things. And so when she said, you're stronger than you think, she was literally telling me, I've already equipped you. And I think there's some of us who there are times whereby we feel like giving up, we feel like throwing in the towel. And God's like, I equipped you in the last season for what you're going through right now.
Yes,
I did
absolutely.
you. I equipped you for the transformation.
Hmm. Hmm. So when he equips us for the transformation, we sometimes think it's going to be an easy road. But what he shows us is that no matter what, he's never leaves us and he will never forsake us.
Never.
And once we get to that level of trust, that's where we're really pleasing him.
Yeah,
Because without our faith, we can't please him. What
exactly.
she spoke in that moment about your strength,
Yeah,
it planted itself inside of you.
absolutely. I see it every single day.
Look,
Absolutely.
look. look at where you are today. I know. Look
Yes.
how many folks. No, wait a minute. What are you doing this weekend again? I heard it and I made a mental note. What's going on
Yeah.
this weekend? Because I want to
So
write it.
yes, so of course I created the journey in honor of mom, right? And in honor of the pillars that were connected to my healing. I had to be healed in the areas of my spiritual, emotional, physical, and financial wellness. So those are the four pillars of the journey. But throughout the year, we do different events. And this coming Saturday, October 7th at 9 a.m. at Frank Lisk Park, is in Concord, North Carolina. I will be hosting our third annual Journey 5K and Family Fun Run. Over 100 people come together for this, and it is an honor of not just mom, but all cancer thrivers, survivors, or in memory. And we literally have about 20 vendors who come out selling things, and we also have health vendors coming out. And during this time, there's live entertainment. It is very high energy. People come out to run or walk
Oh,
5K, right? Or walk, right? And
oh,
the awesome thing is this year, for the first time, we partnered with Levine Cancer Institute and Sisters in Partnership, which is a 501c3 that empowers breast cancer fighters and survivors. And so a portion of our proceeds, we've raised over $25,000. Our goal was $25,000. I looked today and we're almost at $27,000. And a portion of those proceeds will be given to Levine Cancer Institute on their Pink Project or Project Pink. And the other will be given also to Sisters in Partnership. And the remainder will be used for further programming across the country for the journey. So literally, it's mom that's heavy on my mind and heart all weekend long as we celebrate her.
I think that's amazing, and you're inspiring me because and this is amazing. I've often wondered what I needed to do
Mhm.
um, in memory of my mom,
Yeah.
Reverend Joyce Obie. What do I need to do? And every time I listen to you speak, or every time I read something, I go, it's time
Yeah.
for you to let the world know who she was
Yeah.
and who she still is.
Right.
You.
Yes. Yes.
So you my inspiration. Something's gonna happen. I don't know what it
It
is, but we're gonna do something.
is. And you're right. It helps keep the memory alive because the hardest thing for me was my husband never got to meet my parents. I met him the year after they passed. My kids didn't get to meet them, but through the journey and through these different events, they're going to ask, Mommy, who's such and such, or in the journey, we have a magazine. On the back cover, it's mom's face. It's a picture of us and our pearls. And so, with this in mind, I love being able to say this. And so now my 3-year-old walk up, he'll be like, Gma, mommy, Gma, Gma, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's through these stories and through these different things, it keeps her memory alive. And then other people who are so generous with their memory, like you, come and they share stories, even stories I didn't know, or stories that I forgot, or her students at Bennett reach out to me all the time on
yeah,
Facebook or Instagram saying, hey, 20 years ago, your mom taught me French. 30 years ago, she did this, 15 years ago, and those let me know that she's not forgotten. It's not just, she doesn't just live in my heart and mind, but she impacted so many people. And so I love the fact that we get to do this in remembrance of her.
absolutely. You haven't just inspired me, just really, really inspired me. And I imagine that you're inspiring others.
Thank
Because
you.
one way that empowers us and makes us feel good is when we can remember
Yes.
someone like that. You can remember them and you can prepare in
Yes.
remembrance kind of conversation or opportunity. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm feeling inspired. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Audrey was one of my favorites. She was one of my favorites. Now,
You were hers too.
it was a
You
little
love
tough
her
for me.
song.
It was a little tough for me, but I'm grateful that her blood is running through my veins
Yes,
and that I
absolutely.
get to share that. I get to share that memory. What are your plans? What are your goals for the next year, Kaya? I know you're busy, but
Yeah.
what are your goals?
Yeah, so I think I have a ton of goals. I always said, Kaya, the day you stop dreaming is the day you die. So she always, put me on this relentless pursuit of more, but With this in mind, I am just now starting this year. I am doing the journey full time, and so God has grown it from 23 women to over 600. With me doing it part time. Well, now that it's full time, I'm like, let's go, Jesus. Let's see what you do with this. So, with this in mind, I plan to have a greater impact, wider, deeper. I plan to have a greater outreach, even more women's programming, spreading the word of the journey, more retreats, more conferences, more women's empowerment literally across this country.
And with that said, that's a great segue. How can we connect with you?
Yeah,
I'm I'm going to be making plans to attend as many of those opportunities as any visits I can. But there's some people who will want to connect with you. How can we connect with you?
absolutely. The best way to connect is by email or through my website. So by email, it's Kaya at thejourneycollective.org, or you can just go to my website, which is my name, KayaWardShears.com, KayaWardShears.com. All right. KayaWardShears.com. That is going to be the best way to connect with me, to find out events and stuff that I have going on, to check out that blog on grief and other initiatives that I have coming up.
So, as a full time person, now you're able to give so much energy
Yeah,
to that next level of your vision. I'm so proud. I'm so grateful. You know, we're getting. We've been talking so much. I've lost track of time. We're getting towards the end of the broadcast, and I'm so, as I said before, I'm so proud of the conversation about grief
yeah,
because a lot of people don't want to talk about grief.
right,
But this conversation was not just about grief.
right. No,
It was also about restoration,
oh, absolutely.
and it was also and is also about purpose.
Yes.
And sometimes people don't get to hear that enough
Mhm.
because they get stuck in their grief.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that at 29 that you had the energy and that you had the faith and just walked with God
yeah,
hand in hand,
yes.
even during the times when I'm sure he had to carry you like he had to carry me.
Oh yeah.
And look at the impact that you're going to make and the instrument that you are. I absolutely love it.
Thank
And when I went onto your website, you were talking about transforming women's lives.
you. Hmm.
And I thought about the perfect fit and the perfect match that we are.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm going to have to step up my game and become a part of this, this
come on.
purpose because God has great things in store for you
Yeah,
and he's going to use you and he's going to use you mightily. And I'm so glad that you decided to come tonight and share your story, talk about your mom, talk about the journey. It's been absolutely amazing for me just to, as you're talking, there were just memories just floating through my mind.
yeah.
Made me smile because she and my mom were cousins.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for the honor of just being invited to this sacred space. What you're doing is incredible. So thank you, cousin Paula.
Thank you, cousin Kaya. Well, I tell you, we're at the end of this, and as I always ask, I know, right? Time just flies. I
Yeah.
always ask my guests, would
Mm,
they be willing to come back? I know you're busy, but I want them to come back because I need a part two.
I
And
got
I
you.
need to get some pictures and some videos of all these wonderful things that you are doing because the world needs to know, women need to know what's going on in that Journey Collective. So I
Yes.
would love for you to come back in the future. Would you do that?
You know I would. You just call me. I'll be right here.
And I'll definitely double check to make sure we get our dates and our times together
Yeah.
because this is so important. You have uplifted my heart tonight in so many ways. And Kaya, when we get to the end of this broadcast, I say the same thing over and over and over again. You know what I say, Kaya?
What's that?
I say you have to trust the process
Yeah. That's right.
in order for the power of transformation
Yeah.
to take its rightful place and do its perfect work
That's right.
in your life. And that's what I say because that's the truth. You have to trust God
Yeah.
and you have to trust his process. So right now we're at the end, ladies and gentlemen, but that's okay. She'll be back. We'll
Absolutely.
have more to say about Kaya Ward Shears and the collective, the Journey Collective. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for everybody who's joined us. We will have a replay on Saturday of this show at 2 o'clock. So you definitely know we're going to be sharing and liking, and we're going to hear this over and over again. And I know someone's been inspired. So we're going to say goodbye for now. Thank you for joining us. Kaya, I love you, girl.
Love
Take care. Bye bye.